The Baroque composer Antonio Lucia Vivaldi was born on March 4, 1678, in the middle of an earthquake that shook scenic Venice. Fearful for his health, the midwife baptized the sickly child immediately. Luckily, little Antonio survived, and his father Giovanni soon began teaching him to play the violin. As a young musician, Vivaldi had to understand how to use fractions in order to translate the notes on the page into music. Musical notes can be all kinds of different lengths, but they are all variations of a note called the whole note. A whole note is 4 beats long. That's actually pretty long. Only very slow songs use whole notes, while the other notes are shorter versions of the whole note. There's the half note, that's 2 beats long, the quarter note, which is 1 beat long, the eighth note, which is half a beat long, and you can keep splitting these notes up. The fastest notes are 256th notes. Now, notice how each of these notes are named after what fraction they are of a whole note. Vivaldi learned all of these musical fractions as a young violinist. He loved music so much that while training as a priest, he'd often feign stomach aches to slip away and jot down a few lines of music. Just after becoming ordained, after years of preparation, Vivaldi abandoned his post to become master of violin at the Ospedale della Pieta. The Ospedale was an orphanage which trained boys in trade work and girls in music. The music program was actually quite prestigious, and Vivaldi began composing original exercises for his students. In order to write these pieces, Vivaldi once again had to flex his mathematical skills. Sheet music is divided into measures, also called bars, which are blocks of a set number of beats. Organizing music into measures helps musicians keep rhythm and tempo. Composers tell players what the piece's tempo is using something called the time signature, which is a fraction at the beginning of a piece. The time signature's numerator tells you how many beats are in each measure, and the denominator tells you the length of a beat. The standard time signature is 4/4, which means that there are 4 beats per measure, and the beats are each a quarter note long. 4/4 is so popular that it's nicknamed common time and written as C. The first movement of Vivaldi's Concerto in A minor, written for his students, is in common time. Let's take a look. Notice how each measure has all kinds of different notes, but they all add up to equal 4 quarter notes, which is just what the time signature tells us. For the concerto's third movement, Presto, Vivaldi wanted to speed things up a bit. So the time signature here is 2/4. The quarter note gets the beat, but there are only 2 quarter notes per measure instead of 4. Let's listen. Over the next few decades, Vivaldi traveled all over Europe, but he always returned to Venice and the Ospedale. After touring Rome and meeting Pope Benedict XIII, Vivaldi settled back down in his hometown and composed his most famous work, The Four Seasons. This is a series of 4 concertos: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. You've most likely heard spring before. It's often used as background in TV commercials and movies. I'm even using it as background for this digital story. But we're going to look at the last movement of spring, the pastoral dance. This one is in 12/8. There are 12 beats per measure, and each beat is the length of an eighth note. This piece was a great success, but after Vivaldi died of an infection in 1748, his work was entirely forgotten. His compositions were rediscovered in a monastery in 1925, and they have since been revived and celebrated throughout the world. Many of his pieces, originally composed for his little students, are once again practiced by young children learning the violin. The pieces not only challenge the little ones' music skills, but also encourage them to apply their knowledge of fractions to deciphering sheet music.